You know, the very nature of war has fundamentally changed. We need to forget what we think we know about battlefields, because today, the most critical fights are happening in layers we can't even see. So let's break down this new kind of warfare.
For centuries, this was pretty much the go-to definition of conflict. It's from the Prussian general Karl von Clausewitz. The idea is simple, right? When the talking stops, nations use force to get what they want. It's a really familiar and solid place for us to start.
But here's the twist. While the reason for war might be the same, the how, those other means, well, that has become almost unrecognizably complex. The lines between what's conventional and unconventional, what's symmetric and asymmetric, they've all just completely blurred.
In this new environment, it's got a name: hybrid warfare. It's this messy, synchronized storm of all kinds of different tactics. But the real revolution here isn't just about mixing and matching weapons. It's about controlling the invisible domains that decide who sees what, who gets to shoot, and ultimately, who survives.
To really get a handle on this, we're going to focus on three huge technological pillars. First up, you've got layered air defense. That's the shield that protects all your stuff. Second, there's intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance, or ISR for short. Those are the eyes that let you see the enemy. And third, electronic warfare, or EW, which is the constant battle to control the invisible signals that connect absolutely everything. These three things are shaping conflicts everywhere.
So our first case study is this high-stakes tech duel going on in the Middle East. It's a confrontation that's being fought almost entirely through technology, and it pits two completely different military philosophies against each other.
And right away you can see this fundamental clash in strategy. On one side, you have Iran's approach, which is all about saturation, just throwing hundreds of relatively cheap drones and missiles at a target to completely overwhelm its defenses. Then on the other side, you've got Israel, which relies on a super high-tech integrated shield designed to intercept every single incoming threat with surgical precision. It is literally quantity versus quality, but on a massive national scale.
Now, Israel's active defense isn't just one thing. It's a whole network of specialized layers. You have the Arrow system, which goes after long-range ballistic missiles way up in the atmosphere. Then there's David's Sling, which handles the mid-tier threats, like cruise missiles. And of course, the famous Iron Dome, which takes care of all the short-range stuff. Each layer is tailor-made to counter a very specific kind of threat.
But, and this is a big but, this high-tech defense has a pretty serious vulnerability. The price tag. I mean, think about it. When you use $1 million interceptor to shoot down a drone that costs maybe a few $1,000s, who is really winning that exchange? Iran's whole strategy is basically to make defense so incredibly expensive that it just can't be sustained. It's a war of attrition, but fought on a balance sheet.
And running underneath all of this is the constant battle for information. Israel's shield is powered by this massive ISR network, pulling in data from U.S. satellites, its own advanced radars, and the legendary signals intelligence from Unit 8200. Iran, on the other hand, is at a technological disadvantage, so it counters with asymmetric methods, using human intelligence from its proxies all over the region and cyber ops to find its targets.
Okay, now let's shift gears and look at a totally different situation: the nuclear chess game between India and Pakistan. This is a place where the presence of the ultimate weapon just changes all the rules. You know, this whole situation is governed by this really fascinating strategic theory. It's called the stability-instability paradox. Here's how it works. Because the threat of nuclear war is so terrifying, a full-scale war becomes almost unthinkable. That's the stability part. But paradoxically, that makes smaller border skirmishes and limited fights more likely, because both sides are pretty sure it won't escalate all the way, and that's the instability. So, this creates a huge question for military planners on both sides. If you can't fight a total war to get what you want, how do you actually get an edge? Well, the answer, once again, comes down to information.
The advantage here comes from having superior situational awareness, seeing what the other guy is doing before he does. Both nations have built these huge competing technological ecosystems for exactly that purpose. You've got India integrating Russian S-400s with Israeli AWACS planes, while Pakistan is countering with Chinese systems. It's just this constant high-tech race to see better and farther than your opponent.
For our third and final case study, we're heading to the war in Ukraine. This conflict has become a brutal, devastating laboratory for modern warfare, fusing 20th century attrition with 21st century technology. Ukraine was facing this massive challenge. It had to somehow transform its old, centralized, Soviet-era air defenses into a nimble, modern force, and fast.
The result is this incredible patchwork quilt of systems. You've got American Patriots, German Iris-T, and older Soviet gear, all trying to work together. Their survival depends entirely on mobility, constantly moving to avoid getting spotted and destroyed. It's a tactic called shoot and scoot.
This quote from our source material just perfectly captures the essence of this war. All these high-tech sensors and drones haven't made old-school weapons like artillery obsolete. No way. Instead, they've made them terrifyingly more precise and lethal.
This is what they call the sensor-to-shooter revolution, and it happens in a flash. Step 1. A cheap little commercial drone spots a target. Step 2. Its coordinates are instantly zapped over a network to a nearby artillery unit. And Step 3. Within minutes, shells are raining down. The time between finding a target and destroying it has basically collapsed, making the battlefield transparent and incredibly deadly.
And of course, this whole process depends on the electromagnetic spectrum. It's a constant cat-and-mouse game. Russia uses powerful jammers like the Krasuka-4 to try and disrupt GPS and drone communications. But then, in response, Ukraine uses American-made HARM missiles that are literally designed to hunt down and destroy the very radars that guide Russian air defenses. It's this relentless, invisible war for control of the airwaves.
So we've looked at 3 very different conflicts, but there's a common thread that emerges, right? It turns out the ultimate weapon on the modern battlefield isn't a missile or a tank, it's information.
And what's really fascinating is that hybrid war isn't just one single thing. In the Iran-Israel conflict, we see vertical hybridization. It's a fight between different technological layers. With India and Pakistan, it's a strategic constrained hybrid war where nukes put a cap on how far things can go. And then in Ukraine, we see horizontal hybridization, where new tech is just fully baked into a brutal, total war of attrition.
So this leaves us with what you could call 3 new rules for modern warfare. First, information superiority is absolutely decisive. Knowing where to shoot is way more important than what you're shooting. Second, adaptation is mandatory. You have to be able to creatively fuse different systems and tactics to survive. And third, high-tech war is a war of economics, and it can become cripplingly, unsustainably expensive.
And all of this brings us to one final, kind of provocative thought. As technology makes the battlefield more and more transparent, does victory still go to the side with the biggest, most powerful weapons? Or does it now belong to the side that can simply observe, decide, and act the fastest? That right there is the new reality of the modern battlefield.